I'd now like to welcome the City of Glendale Mayor Artie Kassakhian to share a few words.
Thank you all for coming. I want to thank the organizers of this event, as well as thank members of our police department, fire department, anyone who is here to help us honor the memory of those who have fallen. There are many states that claim to have started the tradition of Memorial Day, but there seems to be little doubt that this tradition started sometime in our nation immediately after the Civil War, with a few asserting that it was President Abraham Lincoln's dedication of the cemetery at the battlefield of Gettysburg that started this somber but noble tradition of honoring our nation's fallen soldiers. Knowing this, it was hard for me to think of something more meaningful to say today than what was so eloquently and precisely spoken by President Lincoln at that dedication. One of the briefest but most poignant words ever spoken on the topic, when he observed that, in a larger sense, we cannot consecrate, we cannot dedicate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here, have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living rather, to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion, that we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain. The sacrifice of the fallen soldier is, as noted by President Lincoln, far greater than any words we can speak, and the highest honor to the ideals and values of our nation. That we are all created equal and have God-given right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of our happiness. The Medal of Honor is our nation's highest honor for those who have served in our armed forces. During and immediately after the Civil War, during the 19th century as a whole, some 26 African Americans were awarded this honor for their valor during the Civil War, fighting for our nation and the grand army of our republic. Another 24 after, during the Indian Wars and Spanish Civil War. And then the honors stopped. None were given for African servicemen for service during World War I and World War II until 1991. Now in the 50s, 2 were honored for action during the Korean War and then in Vietnam. But for 2 of the greatest wars in which we fought, it was well documented how colored regiments served, fought, and died. No honors were bestowed upon them until 1991. A research study in the 1990s found a clear policy of discrimination in how the medal was awarded, and more importantly, not awarded. I say this not to shame us or to politicize our somber remembrance, but to remind us that we can all fall into behavior that does not honor the sacrifice of our fallen heroes. That our nation isn't perfect, but must be made perfect by our individual actions every day. Now, in the Jewish faith, I have learned that it is a sin to say a prayer and not follow it with action. For instance, if you pray over a meal and not eat that bread, it is the same as having committed a sin. Well, when we pray for the memory of our lost loved ones, our brave men and women who have fought for our freedoms and to protect our nation, and then we engage in actions that divide us and only selectively engage with our neighbors because they don't share our views or vote for the person I voted for, that is a sinful behavior. Memorial Day was born out of the sacrifice of our American soldiers who died to preserve the unity of our great nation. During the Civil War, when there were those who felt that their political beliefs justified for them to break off from this country and pursue a belief that was abhorrent, that some Americans were less than they were. The sacrifice of those fallen reminds us that we are one nation, under God, and indivisible, no matter who or what forces try to tear us apart. Memorial Day is and should be that reminder that no matter how different we think we are, the sacrifice for this nation knows no color, no religion, or creed, and we must all do our part to honor the memory of the fallen. Thank you, and God bless us all.